Number one, I think we're interested in AI because it allows, used in the right way, our learners to learn faster. I think secondly, it's around cost efficiency. So how can we do more with less? So how can we create better content, faster learning, but in a more efficient way? Third is, how do we use it to increase productivity? So allow people to answer questions faster, to get content out quicker in multiple languages quicker. And ultimately, how do we also help with retention rates and the value around that part? So these are the 4 areas we're going to dig into. And we're going to try to explain the best we can in all this way, and hopefully with my colleagues. At the same time, for those not completely familiar with Fuse, at a high level, we're talking about the three, the refresher of Fuse and things we really care about. Obviously, we really care about building learning cultures. What do we mean by that, and how do we measure that? We measure that through engagement and frequent engagement. And we're really excited all the time to say, well, actually, what's the business impact of that? And how do we know that people who are frequently engaged learn more by correlating that business value? So that's at a high level, the stuff that we care with. So maybe a quick question. Is kind of a similar question to ask, but with a slight twist this time, but it's always good for a bit of audience participation. So as we think about AI in terms of here, and I'm asking the question, we're already obviously using AI a lot in our personal lives and outside of work lives. So maybe the first thing is, where does the audience go to when they want to learn in their personal lives? So, and bearing in mind that don't feel influenced by the big Google logo there. But where do you go? Is it Google? Is it YouTube? Where do you go to that may be influenced by AI? So have a quick answer to that question. Throw yourself into it. So Google and ChatGPT. That's great. We've got Google. We've got Bard now. Love a bit of Bard these days. A bit of Google. I think, thank God, Nastia's not on here. Oh, phew, we got a Nastia. We got some YouTube as well. Okay, groovy. So I think on the first one, I think we're already saying, if you look at all of those technologies have a hard element of AI inside them. Obviously, Google is indexing the world using a variety of AIs to do that. YouTube obviously uses a variety of AI in its recommendations engine, and ChatGPT obviously is a multi-purpose AI that has a whole suite of stuff inside it. So already we're highlighting the point that already in our personal lives, that AI has a heavy role to play in how we're learning. And hopefully when we do find maybe a question for her. So for those that do learn on YouTube, let's just throw out a few things that maybe you've learned in the last couple of months of stuff you've gone on YouTube. Maybe while you're typing on that, I'll have a little think about, what did I watch yesterday? Some history type stuff, how their algorithms work, watch some speeches and talks from the CEOs of Google and OpenAI. Some more practical things here, how to create a lighting plan, how to play. Exactly, these are great things, right? These are great examples of how to make a pivot table. There's always learning that one, and baking and sourdough. So some great stuff, and obviously hit to that point that obviously YouTube. There is a reason that YouTube is used by 85% of people as a learning tool. The second question around AI as well, which again is in our personal lives and coming more and more to our corporate lives. Making Greek coffee, that's a good one. Is which AI-powered feeds do we also use to learn to satisfy curiosity? So what I mean by that is that as we go through. So from my side, I mean, probably today it is interesting that YouTube is kind of my go-to place to satisfy my kind of social curiosity. So often, I'm not saying this is my particular feed, but yeah, this one is mine. Other people, what do you guys have? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. The new DJ option is Spotify. That's nice. Scholar, Instagram. So lots of different things out there. And it's interesting though. I use YouTube on TV, the app more on TV, definitely as a browsing tool, whereas maybe on PC, it's more of it as a search tool. For me, on the PC, I'm going to with a purpose, whereas actually I'm relaxed on my TV in the evening, and it's probably my favorite channel or app I'm using on Apple TV to browse those different feeds. And again, obviously, the interest to us at a high level, the interest to us has always been around how do we utilize these tools at work and make that cross between the tools we use at home and the tools we use at work. And obviously, some of these tools we've hit on already around Google and YouTube and ChatGPT and so forth. Again, a really quick one for those that have already been in these talks. I'm not going to go on it too much, but it was just a great example of how AI is powering how we think. So one of the great examples is the black taxis in London. who spend 3-4 years using the old way of learning, which is memory and trying to retain every single street address. That compares to an Uber model where they're not retaining everything and they're using a digital coach to get them there. And the difference between the Model A of the last 100 years for Victorian black taxi drivers, it's about 300 times faster that the Uber drivers are earning money and earning a living. And that's a great example, I think, of how we think about AI solving new problems that were maybe before unsolvable and elevating our industry. So again, when we think about, there's probably 5 or 6, there's probably 5 core things for us here. Probably the 6th one is probably automating admin, but these are the 5 things that I think we really think about to think, how do we utilize the different types of AI? And the thing here is, undoubtedly what we are seeing is a plug and play approach to AI. So companies like Fuse, what we're able to do now is literally be able to plug in to the different giants. All these giants have a suite of AI. Google has its Google suite of AI, as does Microsoft, called Cognitive Services, as does OpenAI, and others. And often some of these companies have hundreds of different learning models, LLM models, generative AI models specifically, that we can test different functions to see which functions work for different places. So, for one thing, it may be great for finding an answer, and a different model, that's a great to be a coach or for translations. But at the high level, these are the 5 big problems we're thinking about. How do we take the next step towards translation localization? How do we allow us to go beyond Google, what we see in google.com, to find answers? How do we use AI to assist us in content creation, around recommendations to stay to power informed, and around using AI as a coach and a trainer and a teacher? There's a quick question coming from Meredith. We'll receive copies of slides afterwards. Absolutely. So, and feel free, guys, to ask questions in as we go. Oh, and apologies, I do get excited. I will go slower. I do apologies for that. And keep letting me know. The more excited I get, the faster I get, and the faster I get, the less cohesive I get. But it is on recording, so you can play me at half speed. Just as a thing there. So if we, again, think about these 5 aspects of AI into a learning model, I think also we can think about how this evolves our learning moments. So traditional learning moments on the left-hand side, around foundational learning. And again, in use of Fuse, we've used things like continuous learning plans, which is the ability to update a formal learning plan with new videos, new content that will dynamically update itself. But it's still, an aspect of formal learning. On the right-hand side, this is where we probably see, we see AI helping across the whole branch, in essence. We do see it helping a lot across push training. Obviously, we see it a lot around problem solving, the ability to find an answer to a problem quick. We see the capability now, as we talked about with feeds, that we can really use it around curiosity, to tap in to curiosity as a learning moment. So there's 5 minutes we have spare to choose the use of our learning platform, because it's going to recommend a 3 to 5 minute snack that's going to make us curious and make us want to come back. And then likewise, a similar way to keep us informed. So I want to start off first with maybe AI and language. And to talk through, I think for us, why this is a tremendously exciting area. So up till today, this is, Fuse has been involved in pioneering, I think, the use of AI into translations in a learning platform. But I think we're excited where we go next. So today, obviously, what we do inside Fuse as a technology is, hey, Nastia, you made it in. Phew, I thought I was going to do it all by myself. All we got to do is find Reese, and we got 3 out of 3. Can you hear me there, Nastia?
Yes, I can.
Woo-hoo! We feel like we're recruiting the Magnificent 7. We got 2 anyway. So moving swiftly on. So today in a product like Fuse, we do things like automatic transcriptions, where we're just moving that now to move from a dozen language to, I think, anytime this week, next week, to 50 languages. So the ability to talk in French and automatically create a French transcription. As we talk about, that's really important, because that text becomes part of the corporate brain, along with all the text in documents. And one of the things to create an AI corporate learning platform is you want to be able to extract out all the knowledge that's inside the platform, whether that's in a video. Yes, I did think it was last week, right? But it's imminent, right? It is there. So, and obviously critically getting out in Danish. So that's the first element, if we like, is text translation and video to text. And that's what's been available for quite some time, with then the move to the next one. The bit that I guess we've always been excited about, right, and I think is really close, and we can show some really cool stuff now, right, which is the desire to want to go straight from, example, Danish audio to English audio or vice versa without having an interruption. Last year, we made a first step towards that. Actually, it's a question there, will Fuse auto, yeah, so when he said, so yeah, we transcribe today in 12 languages, but hopefully tomorrow or next week, or was it supposed to be last week, we're just rolling out an update to put that into 50 languages, transcription. So that's from 50 languages, from audio to transcription, imminently across, moving from 12 to 50. This, and go back to this step here. This step here was then about how do we get to that ultimate step, which is reducing the cost and creating mother tongue. Because ultimately what we do know is mother tongue learning is far more effective than having to listen to a subtitle. Subtitles is a good bridge, but ultimately we want to get to mother tongue. So last year, you know, we had this big experiment, which was using AI, but in a hybrid manual and automated way. So this was where we used the AI to transcribe our Fuse School videos from English to text. But then we edited it because it was about 98% accurate. So we edited it before we translated it. Then we translated it into Ukrainian text. And again, we spent 10 minutes of video to then make it 100% accurate. And then we pressed another button to create an AI voice. And then we added that voice to the video and put it inside there. So it was great. And it was really exciting, but it still takes us half an hour of video, you know, per language. So what we want to be able to get to, and that's all possible today, and it's still phenomenally cheaper than obviously using, you know, the traditional ways of translating content. What makes it really super interesting now are two new technologies that are now becoming really fast tracking. One is the quality of AI voice, and the second is the quality of automated translations and transcriptions using LLMs, using large language models, the next generation of generative AI towards that. So this is, for example, and give you some introduction to Nastia now. So Nastia is our YouTube partner manager, which we met on the back of working with Fuse School. Nastia is going to come in a bit and talk about some great expertise to share. But we met because obviously Nastia manages our Fuse School YouTube channel along with 100 channels, but she does swear to me that our channel is her favorite channel. And this video I wanted to show because if hopefully actually if I'm going to share and unshare, so make sure I've got the audio in it. When we go, here we go. Oh, we've got Reese on board as well. Well, hey, we got all three of us now. Three must.
Hello, I'm here.
Hey, thank God for that. So I just want to play this for a second.
When you think of summer, I'm sure one of the things that come to mind includes a beautiful beach somewhere. But did you know that the ocean is the largest unexplored place on Earth? Did you know that the ocean moderates and influences climate and weather, while supplying us with fresh water and simultaneously improving our health through its ecosystems? Oh yeah, all of that and more.
So I do want to play that, not because I'm doing a promo for Fuse School, but if you've got kids, it's a great thing. And this is our climate change series we're doing together in partnership with YouTube. The reason I want to show that is that's an AI voice. And obviously most people listen to that wouldn't necessarily believe the quality of that. It's not a real person, never been a real person. It's a pure synthesized AI voice. So for us, this means, you know, a couple of things. I love the emojis. This means a couple of things, which is, for Fuse School, for example, and our corporate clients, we're now hitting the level of voice quality that it gives us an advantage over often using voice actors, right? Because the challenge sometimes with voice actor is you made a mistake and you've got to go back to the actor. So internally, we are using this technology to clone people's voices, but also we're using synthesized AI, which is this person was never a real person. What we also now see is, and I don't know how much of our audience speaks Hindi, but this is now showing you the type of AI which we're now going and using straight through. And I think Simon Lotus there, you're gonna like this. And if I again, it's not embedded into the product as yet, but we are, because obviously we want to track to see how happy you are with the quality of that. But these are the first videos we've now also put out for our social channel on Fuse School, which we're actually gone straight pressing one button and to go straight from an AI voice in English all the way out to AI Hindi. So let's take I don't know how good your Hindi is, but
यूट्रोफिकेशन एक ऐसी प्रक्रिया है जो किसी जल निकाय में हो सकती है, जैसे नदी या झील, जब सिस्टम में बहुत अधिक पोषक तत्व जुड़ जाते हैं. यूट्रोफिकेशन तब शुरू होता
So again, I don't know how good your Hindi is, but from my friends of mine that talk Hindi are basically saying to us, so on 5 of the 8 videos we looked at, they said it was 100% accurate. On 3 of the videos, they said that there was maybe one sentence that they'd want to change. So for us, when we're thinking upon a global education project, such as Few School, when they're able to go to AI natural voice and to AI human voice, in a tiny fraction of the cost, accepting that it's not perfect, right? Accepting that, 99% is okay. It may not be for a compliance, health and safety course, but obviously for much of our content it is. So again, Reese can talk about when he's thinking about making that part of the product, but now we've reached that barrier to say we actually are impressed to a love that we can now, across most content. And again, these type of technologies will also do things like understand that there is background music and deal with that, understand there are different voices and also deal with that. So there are some real breakthroughs in the level of audio to audio translation. And it's so quick it's happening. I mean, this year, it's to some degree why our roadmap for 2024 is blown up, because it would be silly to have a long-term roadmap when much of our thinking is now fast-tracked and things that are done differently. So I want to pass over to Nastia. And happy if you drive, Nastia, or I can, either way through. But just, maybe if you want to introduce yourself and explain to us, I guess, how you help your YouTube partners tap into curiosity to help create more learning moments.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Thanks for a very nice introduction. My name is Nastia. I work for YouTube in London. And I am also a partner manager of Few School, the amazing channel you've seen now. And this is how we met. We met over a very exciting conversation of helping Few School grow. And while you can see this channel is absolutely huge, it doesn't really have a potential to grow thanks to a thing that I'll be talking about now. So generally, when I work with creators, and I work with around 100 creators, and most of them are learning creators, some of them are health creators. When I work with these people, my goal is to really help their channels grow. And how do you grow with getting more views, more watch time, basically getting more attention from their viewers. So I'm deeply, deeply focused on content that creates a sense of curiosity among viewers and just allows more viewers to click on this content. So this is my core competence and something I work on. And here we'll speak about actually creating this curiosity moments and why it is important for learning content as well. So here are two things, two screenshots from YouTube. So home and search. What does this mean? Let's start with the right hand side. It's search. If you have a need to learn something, it can be a skill, or it can be a quick fix. For example, your dishwasher stopped working properly. You really quickly need to fix it. You will likely go on Google or YouTube, and you will type how to fix a dishwasher. So this way you come to a video platform or a learning platform with a specific intent, with a specific goal to learn something. You type the query, you get a video, and you're good, you learn something. And this is the approach that I think most of learning people in the learning area take, because they kind of assume, which is not incorrect, but I'll explain it further. So they assume a person has a need to learn, we need to teach, okay, and that's it. While it's not the only way people learn, and it's actually not the largest way people learn. There is on YouTube, when you come to YouTube, sometimes you come to YouTube, or by the way, you come to Instagram, TikTok, Netflix, wherever. Sometimes you come to those video platforms not to learn something specific and not having a specific goal in mind, but you actually come there just because. So I don't know, you need something to play in the background, you need something to entertain yourself today. So you come without a specific intention, and your only intention is just YouTube, surprise me or entertain myself. And you get to YouTube homepage. So it's YouTube.com, all right? And what happens on this YouTube homepage is what is depicted on the screen on the left. Is you get to the platform and you get a set of different videos that the platform believes are a good choice for you. The platform believes you will enjoy these videos. And now all of these videos, they compete for your attention until one of those sparks enough curiosity in you to actually click. And I think once we go further, I'll explain how it works in learning as well. Yeah, okay, so this is the home feed and this is the curiosity bit. How you make decision, I'll just reiterate it once again. How do you make decision on the home feed? Is basically you see a video and you do not know its content. You don't know what happens inside. You don't have an idea of like how much money it costs to produce it. You don't have an idea of like, well, is there an AI voice or non-AI voice and like what is happening? The only information you have is like thumbnail and title. It's important. Next. Okay. And now we come to a complex part, but we'll try to explain it in a very simple way. This is a funnel of how a person from being just a stranger who never been to your educational content gets to a person who loves your video. Every person, every viewer goes through their own journey. And this journey can easily be depicted in a funnel. And this is, by the way, this is an element from the presentation I actually did for Fiscal. What I mentioned is a level of appeal. You came to YouTube and now many thumbnails competed for your attention until one of those sparked enough curiosity in you, so you clicked. Okay, so this is the appeal level. So obviously we have a lot of people and then some of them click. The more of them click, the more views we have. Views are not everything. We want to have quality views, and you will likely agree that a video that was watched for 10 seconds and a video that was watched for a minute and a video that someone stayed on for 3 hours are like somewhat different, and we want people to stay longer. So here comes the engagement piece, meaning how long the viewer decided to stay on your video. And what I say, it's part joke, part not, but I think that one of the yet impossible things to do is to make a person watch a video that they don't like voluntarily. This is something I think no one learned to do, and I hope we will never learn to do that. And then some of the people who watch the video ideally until the end or until the moment of satisfaction, some of them decide to express their satisfaction. They can comment, they can like, so they can tell you they love your video. All right, next.
And I think this is this is back to our side. And guys, apologies if I don't know if it helps if I take it off full screen. I've got one of those big widescreen monitors. I don't know if that is what's affecting that. Oh, it could just be reloading that bit. Let me see if that's any better. Okay, but yeah, but getting that back to, I think, to this part here. So the reason I think the reason why I guess the engagement funnel is really interesting, I think, from the YouTube side, is ultimately Nastia's goal and all of Nastia's channel's goal is to create returning users, is to create that habit that people are coming back regularly. And that's exactly the same goal as us. And that's why I do think the lessons from Nastia on YouTube are so interesting. So, and there's two aspects to that. There's the aspects of the technology. They're back. There's the aspects of the technology, which is how do you create feeds and how do you use signals variables to create the best recommendation to the individual. And obviously what YouTube see as signals is going to be different to a corporate learning platform. At the same time, we also, and I think Nastia will be the first to say, there's no point YouTube having the best technology in the world or Fuse having the best technology in the world. If the content isn't great content, then you're going to still have exactly the same issue. So for us, when we think of the funnel, we're saying that we're looking at the same thing. Ultimately, we're trying to get people to be returning users. And obviously, data-wise, business-wise, we've done so many studies where we can see the correlation that returning users, and it doesn't matter why they return, whether they return because they're searching for stuff, or they're being inspired by a homepage, or they're continuously to have, continuous learning plan that's always changing. Doesn't really matter. If we create that habit of returning, those people perform better. And that's why we think about it in these 4 levels of registered, active, engaged, and trying to understand, not just as a company overall, but actually per division or per role, where we see things coming off. Okay, so maybe back to you a little bit in terms of that, then how to create that motivation, intrinsic versus extrinsic.
Yes, and here we come to why do we speak about that in terms of learning? Why do we speak about curiosity? And also, when I tell people that you're going to need to strive for creating curiosity on a homepage, they, especially learning guys, they always tell me, like, do I need to be Mr. Beast? Do I only need to create entertainment? Do I need to create pranks and challenges and all the content that is not learning? And I want to do learning. And here is the moment where we can realize that learning does happen by being entertained as well. These are just 2 different contexts and 2 different motivations. So here is the example from finance. Let's have a look at those 2 pictures. So the case on the right, what happens if you have suddenly moved to a new country? It's your first tax year in there, and you need to fill in the taxes in the new country. Likely this will be a stressful experience, and you'll need to learn. So you'll go on YouTube, type, how do I file my taxes in my new country X, watch a video. Probably you won't enjoy this video in the sense that you won't feel like very entertained. It won't be a Netflix experience for you, but it'll be helpful. Once you have watched this video, you've dealt with taxes, you might not stay on this channel, or you might not continue watching this type of content. However, same can come with, like, what is inflation? If someone studies economy and they're like, what is inflation? I got the definition done. However, on the left-hand side, you see an example of Johnny Harris with video WTF inflation explained in 6 minutes. And this is the video that got almost 2 million views, 1.8 at the moment when we made this screenshot. It's likely, I think you can have more views now at the moment. And this video is clearly not designed for people who are currently looking for a definition of inflation. Instead, it is designed to entertain people and satisfy their curiosity. I believe that the key motivation of Johnny Harris is to speak to those people who always hear inflation on the TV, but they may not have economic background, and they just like, they might actually struggle with like explaining what this actually is. So this video taps into curiosity. And with this, we have two motivations really. Filing taxes is extrinsic motivation. We watch this video because someone makes us do it, and we won't watch this video otherwise. While intrinsic motivation and curiosity, just like Johnny Harris's video, is our volunteer choice to watch this specific video. And most likely, because this person is a great storyteller, we'll actually enjoy watching it. But in both cases, we'll learn. It's just like a very different approach and motivation we got in both of the learning cases. To you, Steve.
And maybe just attend to Nastia. And Reese, do feel you can come in at any time, right? Don't wait for us to stop talking. And I think there's some great questions, great points in the background here, right? And this is the difference between what we learn from YouTube and others, but also what we throw away and need to make specific to our own use cases. So to the point that somebody made, YouTube is about ultimately, people watching videos, and they want people to watch more videos. That isn't purely our goal. It's partly our goal. We want people to come back to the site regularly, and we want to create that habit of learning. But to the point, if somebody comes back and types in a question and finds an answer within 5 seconds, that's great. Likewise, if they watch 1 minute of video and find the bit they need and do the job well, that's great. So it may be the signals that we're looking for are slightly different. And that's why I do think the returning user, did the person get what they wanted to and then create the habit, get in the habit of coming back, is more interesting, I think. But there's lots of ideas there's lots of ideas that we need to continue to work on to find that other part towards it. Okay, but I'm not going to, you maybe carry on and then we'll jump back into the next comment. Go for it, Nastia.
Okay, can we go? Steve, you can jump to the next slide.
Yeah, so maybe on that part, maybe I take Vivi's point, right? So consumption, I agree, right? Consumption by itself doesn't mean something, right? But if somebody goes to a learning platform and is deciding to go there regularly, and the purpose of that platform is to provide knowledge that can be applied. So, yesterday I've got a problem with my car with a 12-volt battery, and I've gone to YouTube, and the engineer came out and went to YouTube to get there to find it. They looked at it and they applied it, and they watched a bunch of different videos to learn and apply. It's hard to apply. I mean, application happens after knowledge is consumed. So there is a correlation between knowledge consumed and application, because we do need to understand something before we apply it. And so, and what we do see is a connection between the people that are consuming knowledge and not the amount of knowledge, right? What we don't see is a connection between somebody who went through hours of courses and improved learning. What we do see is people that have that Google, YouTube style habit of, oh, ChatGPT, can I find an answer to a question, to create a video, and I've now got a trusted, accurate source I go to regularly. And if I'm going to that accurate source regularly and applying that knowledge, then we see those people performing better. So, important that we understand that if we create a 70-20-10 world or a 5 moments of world, how do we know it's working or not? And for me, that repeat using part, we're choosing to go back, it seems to be the key metric. And again, when we're late, and this comes to the layout of Fuse, and again, Reese, it'd be great if you come in here. And this is why I guess we've been building these type of feeds. And I know some of you have now got access to these, the feeds in the middle, for example, which use the new knowledge intelligence, and the older feeds, which use the recommendation parts. But for us, that's why there's this mixture. And I guess why I do love the feed on top of other technologies in Fuse, because it's the application similar to YouTube of trying to serve up content to hit that curiosity bit. I think what Nastia really landed around curiosity for me is a key learning moment that I think we want our pages to represent, not solely or not completely, but it's another tool alongside search, alongside formal, alongside performance support. It doesn't mean the whole page needs to be Netflix. I agree with that, but we're saying it's another way of thinking and another moment we want to tap into. Okay.
I think, can I go and see for a sec? I think for me, a key part of this is we're not necessarily always trying to do the same thing as other products. We're not there for you to consume content as many hours as possible. But what we do want is to be able to build trust, and to be able to have people trust the platform and build habits of being able to come back. Is all to do with relevancy. I think that's where these two things intersect really nicely. We want people to be curious, and we want them to be able to explore, and we want them to know that when they have a problem, when they need to learn something in the moment, when they actually need to apply it, as we're talking about here, that if they need a refresher, they can find that really quickly. If they need to solve a problem, they can find that really quickly as well. And so Fuse kind of becomes that place of trust, because we've got all of these mechanisms going together, the feeds and search, etc.
Yeah, and I would add, guys, I know this is not to say that the formal learning part towards it, but I would say, use an example from last night. So I did do a search on YouTube to fix the problem, to find the problem with the car. And when I went up to my PC and the feed, it had 20 top tips of stuff you didn't know about your car, about a Tesla. And I learned about new things inside that I'm now applying to my car, that there's things it does I didn't know that it did, but it hit my curiosity. That's not the only learn moment, but it is a learning moment that I do think it's missing. And we see this all the time in Fuse clients, right? One of the ideas behind it has always been that we are trying to tap into the tacit knowledge of an organization. Some of that tacit knowledge maybe then, how do, once an organization digitizes and gets people create social learning, how do we service the right thing to the right person, either because it's their job and they need to know, or because it's interesting and they create a habit of, actually, I'm not going to go to Netflix, I'm not going to go to YouTube, I'm going to go to Fuse, just like I go to Flipboard, because it's going to be interesting for me. It's another learning moment to tip into. Again, not saying it's the only one, but I think we'd miss the opportunity if we didn't use curiosity as a moment to tap into. Okay, and that's the example inside here. And I think maybe to the second point, again, when we look back in the day, right, and there's loads of clients have different types of content here, but this is also the recognizing that there is different content for different purposes. And one of my favorite all-time videos was the guy on the left who used to create rap videos on new products for a brand called Phones for You. it was a great piece of edutainment content that probably is more for that curiosity piece. And the end result of that piece, it would be on the homepage, and that product will sell 4 times more because that was an edutainment piece of content towards it. I think the point we're landing around this bit around recommendation AI and content is, how do we make some of our content, and specifically bite-sized content, more interesting, purposely more interesting, so it does get served on a homepage? How do you create the habit that people come back to the platform? Because actually it's both educational and fun. And how do we use the algorithm to serve up this type of content that might be interesting to one person, but not interesting to another person? Yeah, Louisa, I think you're right on the search, and I think there's a lot that we do around that. And to this second point, maybe for your bit first, back to you, Nastia, just around the importance of the packaging aspect and what we mean by packaging of content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see there is like a lot of discussion on the chat I was reading in the meantime. Maybe I'll allow myself to tap into what was mentioned in the chat and what was mentioned by Steve. I don't think there is, we obviously speak about like search and content that you search to learn and something that just sparks curiosity and entertains. I see this as a spectrum, and I totally agree with Steve that it's not that we only need to like only entertain people with content, even if it's educational. And I agree there is like certain limitations when it comes to like a lot of learning or depths of learning. I completely hear that, but like, besides of just like having learning content, we need to promote this learning. Like we need to prove to people it's worth learning something, and curiosity is a really great motivator for people to understand a certain topic better. So how do we create curiosity? What do we think of? How do we look into content to spark this curiosity? So first of all, is packaging. This title is thumbnails, and here we basically use these 2 things to attract attention. What I usually so in the packaging is basically our ability to get what's sparking the most curiosity in our content, let's say in our video, and just putting it right to the viewer so that they know that there'll be something sparking their curiosity even before they enter the video. Okay. Okay. So I'll provide an example, but after speaking about storytelling. And the next thing is storytelling. So it's not enough just to teach a person and make an online lecture. We actually need to care about the structure of the video, so it does entertain us the whole way and your viewer never gets bored. So I think, again, once someone is bored, they'll just leave your video. And in our era of a lot of online video and a lot of opportunities to watch something that is not boring, making someone bored is really dangerous because they can just leave our content. And here, I wanted to actually provide one of the examples from my work that demonstrates the role of curiosity in learning. I used to work with a physics creator, so he was doing physics content and teaching physics in the university. And that was a video that he created a couple of years ago in a moment where the conversation around the harm of 5G was very trendy. So there was like the protests were there, like people were, I think, destroying the 5G things. So he created a video about 5G, and the thumbnail featured the protests, whatever. It featured the question that all the people had at the moment, like, is this really that dangerous? And in this video, he used his physics knowledge to explain the notion from the news, to explain the notion people see in the news. This video got like several million views, a lot. I think it was one of the record videos on his channel. And maybe this video didn't make every viewer learn what physics is. No, but it clearly made more people interested in physics than before this video was published. And hopefully a certain percentage of these people will actually pursue their willingness to learn more about physics. So that's why packaging and curiosity and storytelling are so important. Content strategy to you, Steve.
Yeah, and I think of this whole bit, right? I think the point we want to make here is, and it is interesting, right? Because sometimes we've had comments from a client who said that the search and reviews isn't great, and then we've gone and looked at the content, and they've called their videos video 1, video 2. so, yeah, and likewise, if you create an amazing bit of content that's from your best expert internally, and the packaging of that content is boring, the thumbnail is boring, it's not going to come up in discovery, or if it does come up in recommendations, people are less likely to click on it. So the concepts of social media here, I think, are absolutely applicable to Fuse especially. So two things. One is the importance of getting that title right. And the second is the importance of getting that thumbnail right. What we tend to do now when we're building content for customers, we actually, I wouldn't say we cheat a little bit, but maybe that's the word. We cheat a little bit in that we'll actually take the transcript now, and we'll take the transcript for the video and we'll put that into Bard or to ChatGPT, and I'm sure in the future we'll embed this into Fuse. But by putting we ask the AI, can you recommend a title for this video based on the transcript of the video? And generally speaking, it will give us 2 or 3 recommendations that are far better than what we're doing with human interaction. So, we do know, whether that's YouTube or whether that's Fuse, the importance of a title is critical for search accuracy. And it doesn't matter how good your search engine is, if the title's bad, then the search will be impacted by it. And the same for the packaging of the other part. Just want to answer a couple of questions here. Then I maybe just want to jump out to Reese to let Reese jump in around content strategy. So there was a question around if you're teaching a specialist subject, how do you know the quality of the translation is good enough? So again, I don't think we're saying here that the subject says 100%. What I do really like on the new suite of AI that we're seeing is it uses a different way to predict the language. So if I'm speaking in a language or speaking now, and the current AI doesn't understand a word, it will try to still listen to the word and match the word with the word from its dictionary. It's matching, if you like, the audio. What the new versions of AI do is they predict it based upon 1 billion sentences. So the fact that it's looking at all the sentences that people have spoken 1 billion times over, then actually it's saying, well, people normally have this word at this sentence. So for example, the AI the other day, we were looking at it and it said that I said plastic grannies. Now, I've never used the term plastic grannies ever, and I'm sure plastic grannies in the context of what I'm talking about would never have come out. But that's what the AI thought, because it listened to it and that's what it heard. The new predictive AIs wouldn't do that, because they would go, well, no one ever says predictive plastic granny in that context, which is why we're seeing accuracy jump up from like 98% to 99.9%, and why there's probably a thing for Reese and the product team to look at to say, at what point do we switch the model once we're confident that that's the case across the ground. And it does the same with translation. It's the same concept with translation, why we're seeing a jump up, I think, in the quality of translation. Reese, I think over to you, because otherwise I'm going to take up too much time. And I think if you want to, actually, Reese, you want to do 2 bits. Do you want to do the search bit and the content bit?
I can do if you want me to, yeah.
Either you. Yeah, maybe start with here, just bearing in mind in time, and maybe just let us know the journey around these bits.
Sure. Shall I share my screen? I can jump between.
Even better. You might not get back.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I've got far too many slides. That screen's open now. I'm sure we're all the same.
34.
Right. Cool. Let me start here then with it for you. Hopefully, I'm sharing it in a way where you don't see any of the little grey Zoom boxes and all of that. I think it's probably, just in the interest of time, really good to start here. So, great that we're talking about our search in the chat, but kind of bring it up for everybody in the screen. What we're really trying to focus on with search, or have been for the last 2 years, is to try and make all of our content more discoverable. It's exactly what we've been talking about for the last 50 minutes or so. The way that we've approached that is that we think it's really important to be able to expose all the knowledge that sits inside people's content, because it gets trapped in PDFs, SCORM files, all these other pieces of content that we're constantly creating. But what AI is now giving us that ability to go and do is to really enrich all of the content. We've extracted the transcripts, and I think Simon said it in the chat, that does make a big difference, because now when we search and we're looking for the most relevant piece of content, whether it's for search purposes or recommendation, we're able to actually look inside the content and then be able to use that to say, if you've searched for a phrase and that keywords from that phrase constantly come up in the transcript, the content or the knowledge inside the content, then we boost that. But title, descriptions, the actual tags that get put on the content, play a really big factor as well within that. So it is really important to make sure that we get titles and descriptions right. And I'll touch on that when I get to the content section in a second. But as you can see on screen here, we're kind of moving, with our thinking, and whereas we have deep search at the moment, and that's being able to pull knowledge in the moment of need to be able to apply it, problem solve, to deepen curiosity. What we really see us moving towards is answers. I think this is such a big part of workflow learning is getting people answers to problems, whether that's something that is documented or from the crowd, be able to pull that and present that to them in the shortest amount of time possible. So there are two things we're working on here. We've been working for quite a while on extractive answers. And what this effectively is allowing all of your users to ask a question into search, and then just like you get on Google, to be presented with an answer that is extracted, hence the name, from inside one of your documents. I think what's really cool, and what we get so excited about with ChatGPT and all of these other tools, is the next phase of that, generative, because then rather than having to have the answer in a single piece of content that exists within Fuse or your learning system, it's now able to take all of the knowledge that you've got, synthesize answers from that, and be able to present it back to you, which is exactly what ChatGPT has been doing now, when you've been using that for the past six months or so. It's looking across all the knowledge it has, and it's able then to synthesize that and summarize and explain an answer. And that's what generative will be able to do. But instead of it being across, the general knowledge that it gets trained on, it'll be on your corporate knowledge, both the tacit and explicit knowledge that's available around your ecosystem in Fuse and in SharePoint and Dropbox and all these, and Google Suite, all these other places where documents and things get left. We'll be able to bring all of those things together. For me, that's a really exciting step forward then, because then I think the phase after that, which isn't on this slide, is then the AI coach. And that's where we get supremely excited about the future, because it's not just them asking a question, getting an answer, asking another question, getting an answer, but it's then asking a question, getting an answer, going off and exploring certain things, asking it to expand on certain subjects. It's able then to take the knowledge and the answer that it's generating, and depending on your skill or proficiency level, depending on which language is your mother tongue, it'll be able to present things back in a hyper-personalized format to you. And I think for me, that's where it starts to get really exciting. That's also where some of our thinking is going. The one thing to say is around the Fuse product, and love the fact that we have the foresight to think about this, is all of the technology that we've actually built to enable these things and the things that Steve's talking about. It's all very much plug and play. And so that means that as the industry continues to change, and I get 5 or 6 emails a week with the 50 new AI tools and things that have been developed and chucked out into the industry. So there's so much change happening all the time, but we're able to be really agile and react to that. So whether it's language, whether it's content creation, search, all of these things that we've been talking about today, we're able to really experiment and then just plug in the right thing for the right time and continue to evolve with that. And that's what really excites me. So let me jump in. So I want to do one last section and kind of spin it around a little bit, rather than tell you.
Reece, so your slide's moving. Reece, so your slide's moving, just so we're on the same side.
Sorry, Steve, say that again.
I'm just thinking, are your slides moving? Because I think we're seeing the same slide.
Oh yeah, I'm still on search. Yeah, let me jump through. Yeah, so what I wanted to just do with the last couple of minutes is I suppose talk to you all about what you could be doing today with generative AI to help power your learning content strategy. And I don't have an awful lot of time, so I'm going to have to do the very abridged version of this, but happy to share all the slides, happy to share all the links and everything, and happy to share the videos as well that I'm going to play. So I suppose, in a nutshell, a core belief of Fuse is around combining humans and AI, and I think that's where we're going to get the best results with this. It's not going to be that AI in general will take over everything. We're still going to have humans set the task and still have humans check the answer at the end of that. But what it allows us to do is to be supremely more productive. And I think a really great area when it comes to L&D in this is content creation, right? It just allows us to do so much more, so much quicker, and have it so much more engaging. So where could it help you? Well, there are kind of three key phases. Feel free to take a picture when I get to the end, and you can see all of the different ones on there. But I suppose the first stage is really about ideation. You know, it's making sure it's helping you, I suppose, to collate all the knowledge into one particular space. And you can use tools like ChatGPT and Google Bard for that. I would say now, you know, ChatGPT is really great, but I'm starting to move away from that a little bit. Even though I'm a subscriber, I'm actually now using a little bit of Bard, and I've actually started to use Perplexity quite a lot, and that's some you know, a recommendation I would make to everybody. The real reason for it is because Perplexity is connected to the internet, and it's really fast, and it's slightly faster than Bard as well. So, you know, either of those are really good, but it means then you can start to think about the subjects for the content you're trying to create, and then you can use these services to ask questions and then get recommendations, or ask it to start writing scripts or whatnot. You know, so there's a lot you can actually do in this particular space. The real area, I think, you know, of opportunity is going to be around content creation. And, you know, I've selected 4 tools. I put 4 in, I took 4 out, I put 6 in. You know, there's just so many different options, but these are kind of the ones that I really think are probably beneficial for everybody on the call. In particular, things like Canva, because Canva is used by so many of our clients already. You know, and now that they've added generative AI into that, you know, and I do actually have it here, but probably I'm not going to do the demo that I was going to do, which was replacing this graphic with a generative AI thing. Maybe we can do a video or something and share it with you all. But it really is simple now to be able to just, you know, type something and be able to have, you know, an image generated and then add that into the templates they've already got. So going back to Nastia talking about really great engaging thumbnails on YouTube, you know, Canva is a really great way of you being able to do that. And there are thousands of templates on here that you can combine with text to image. Yeah, and then the final element to talk about, and I think this is actually the area of like where there's a real explosion at the moment of innovation, and it's localization. You know, so you know, we know people obviously learn better when they do so in their mother tongue, but the problem with that is scaling content creation to a global audience. It makes it really difficult. So, you know, there are now these tools that help us do a lot of that, and you saw some of that with Steve a little bit earlier on. So let me play you a couple of videos just to show you what's going on. So first of all, this is image generation. So this is how you can create really great, impactful images for learning content. And this is the Adobe Firefly tool.
There's no sound, by the way, Reese, if you're having any sound. Really some funky music anyway, right?
There you go. So I think that gives you the real breadth of what is now starting to be available. That video, I think, is really more aimed at professionals, you know, and the amount of stuff that you could see being done there, it all now exists. You are able to access that, and it's being integrated into Adobe Creative Suite. If you're not such a professional when it comes to images, I would say really focus on Canva. You know, there's a free version, you can upgrade to a pro version, which unlocks a lot more of the templates and everything, but you're able to try all of that today. So where would you do that? Well, obviously, you know, stock images, rather than using traditional stock, you're able to have something much more personalized, you know, and you're able to generate what you need for your business, for the different audiences that you're trying to teach. And obviously thumbnails is really a key area of that. So let me jump into the next one, which is a bit about video. Just jump past that. I think those who are on the last webinar heard me get usually excited about something that was coming soon, which was Runway's Gen 2 model. Again, this is now available as well, but this is where you're able to type text and have video generated. So let's watch that video a second. So I won't play the whole thing just because there's a little bit more to go after this, but I suppose that just gives you an example of where we're going very quickly now. You're able to start creating text prompts that will generate video, actual video. So is this going to allow you to do full videos for learning? Not today. No, I'm not saying that you're going to certainly be able to type in manual safety or health and safety or something like that, and it's going to generate a video. But where would it help today? Well, you can already generate small clips. So things such as cutaways and reaction shots and all of those kind of things, you can create those now and insert those into a longer video. So where you have something really dry, potentially, and you need to break it up with being able to cut away to a bit of imagery, whether it's a person doing something or whatnot, you'll be able to actually start to generate those videos. And you can go on to runwayml.com, that you can go there now and experience both the first and the second generations of this. But for me, this is keep your eye on this. This is going to be really, really exciting, get much better in a short space of time. I do have a little, Steve, I'd love to still go through the localization. I know we're over, but for those that might be able to stay for another couple of minutes, I think it's worth it.
Sure, go for it. We've still got 88 people on board, so you got
good. Thank you to the 88 that are staying. And so I think localization definitely is one of the areas of real interest. And Steve talked about that a little bit earlier on. I just wanted to kind of play a couple of more videos to show you what's going on there. I mean, obviously, just to put it into context, traditionally, if you wanted to be able to scale content out to a global audience, you would normally use translation agencies and those kind of things. So you'd have to create 50 versions of a video. And and even then, what you're more than likely getting is you get 50 versions of a video, maybe it's one version of video with 50 subtitles. It's not necessarily the optimal experience. And if you do have the money and the pockets to pay for something, then it's really expensive to be able to do that. And I think this is where generative AI is making or causing a major disruption at the moment. You've got tools such as Synthesia, which some of you may have heard of before, where you can generate AI models and you can put your transcript in, and then the AI avatar will talk through that, and it can do it in all the different languages. But actually, I think the real excitement with this now is some of the new tools coming up, such as Rask and Rask AI. So in this next video, what you're going to see is how they can take a single video in English and quickly translate those, translate the English language to multiple language in minutes. But the key thing to remember here is that it's now using voice cloning technology. So you can hear the speaker's voice in all of the different foreign languages. So have a listen to this.
Oh, there's no audio coming through, Reese.
Sorry?
No audio coming through. But
no audio. Well, that's
actually cover.
That's a bit rubbish. Sorry, I didn't realize I've been playing all these videos. There's no audio. I've been listening to fantastic music. By the way.
Covered some of that stuff off earlier, but what I didn't cover off was this stuff, right? So maybe just to go on, because this is another technology, right, which is a level up, right? So this is another piece of AI which is creating synthesized humans. So, and if you're not happy with of your own hair day, if you've got a bad hair day and you want to create an avatar of somebody else, then this is the So yeah, so that last one, if you like, well, it's a little bit scary. So that's basically moving on from cloning voices or synthesized voices to actually synthesizing people, which I think in tune with Reese, what you're talking about with AI coaches, the ability to create an AI coach that you feel familiar with, comfortable with, in a tone of voice and so forth, that is behind the scenes connected towards it. There was a question there about, is the information provided by AI not plagiarized? I was in the middle of answering that. So in the Fuse world, what we're doing is we're applying AI to our customers' data. So as long as our customers are not copying their competitors, then it shouldn't be doing that. So unlike obviously ChatGPT, which is used for the public web, that's not our application of AI. Our application of AI is taking the same technology, but only using it for our customers' data. So translating, transcribing their knowledge, allowing a customer to put in a 500-page manual and to surface that, or to crawl websites like their own websites and so forth. So yeah, so In the version that we're using, which is application of customer data, it's not. But obviously at the same point, it's however good your data is. If somebody in your company has plagiarized competitor stuff, then yeah, then that's a problem. But that would be a problem anyway. So it's not like we're creating the problem, you've already got that problem. Cool.
Yeah, I also saw in the news today that, you know, that there is obviously a huge amount of conversation around AI ethics and plagiarism and whatnot. One of the steps I saw Adobe take today, where, you know, you just saw the video for their Firefly tool, is that, you know, they're now going to be paying out any copyright claims from that, you know, in order to be able to get people to start using these various different AI tools. I think there's a lot still to go here. You know, there's a lot of conversation around policies. You know, we don't know where the industry is going to land yet, but I do think what I would say is feel free to use a lot of this stuff at the moment, you know, and then let's see how it lands, because you're going to be using, you're not using it in a commercial context and selling all of this on. I think that's the area of real worry at the moment. If you are packaging all of this and selling it as courses, if you're packaging it for internal usage, then that should be fine at the moment.
Yeah, I think to Reese's point, right, that this is a new area that people are wrapping their heads around. You know, Reese just published our own ethics policy around bias. So bias is one area of ethics that is a big thing, right? So, you know, a lot of things out there are going to have a bias, they are going to have a bias. And even if our AI is applied to a corporate's own data, you know, every corporate probably has some bias. So, you know, whatever it is going to become a reflection of an organization. So that's one area. You know, obviously if you're cloning as we are, some of our staff's voices, there are ethics issues around that. They need to have their permission. What happens if they leave the company? Are they happy for that to happen, you know, post the company? So, you know, we are going to have a set of new policies, you know, companies need to think about and put into place around this stuff. But at the same bit, what we are seeing is that people will, you know, turn on bits by bit as they understand more. But I think the question around plagiarism is less of an issue for our type of technology, but more of an issue for your kind of world, you know, your world generative AI technologies like ChatGPT and Bard, which are scraping the internet to create that type of brain. Groovy, guys. Yeah, we absolutely will make the, so maybe just a quick thank you and apologies, Nastia and Reese, for getting the links out and a little bit of Zoom trouble. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it all. Absolutely would love to get the slides out. Absolutely, I think the team would love to see you on Pink Fuse. For the customers that are our customers, come on Pink Fuse, ask the questions, keep pushing this, you know, it is a massively exciting time, right? And there are so many technologies now that we are able to plug into, and we're trying to now prioritize that in relation to your needs. So keep talking to us. Keep telling us your needs, and that keeps shaping our thinking of what we're doing. And for those who are not customers yet, then we hope you will be soon. And thank you to Nastia for your contribution and all your support and all your help over the last months.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great day. Bye.